Welcome to the Country Hipster Podcast. My name is Paul. I am the Country Hipster. That music you just heard was the mega fucking hit. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm doing it differently now, right? Mega fucking hit by the Unholy Four called Dirty Knife. Check out the Unholy Four. They're from Charlottesville, Virginia, and you can find them on Spotify, Bandcamp, Apple Music, YouTube, or wherever you can find the Unholy Four. So today is Halloween. Happy Halloween, everybody. Today is Thursday, October 31st, and we're not dressed up for Halloween. I mean, Adam always looks like the Wolfman, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so happy Halloween, everybody. Podcast specific promo code SPOOKY is technically only good for till the end of the day. But since I'm not a dick, what I'm actually doing is I am going to extend the podcast specific promo code for October, which is spooky at OttsvilleRecordGarage.com to expire at midnight on, well, actually 11:59 on the 6th of November. So on next week's episode, we'll have a brand new thingy for you. What's it called? A promo code. But for now, you can use Spooky for a few more days at OttsvilleRecordGarage.com and save 15% off of your entire order. If you're listening on Spotify or watching on Spotify, go ahead and scroll down and click on the listener support and pledge some support to the Country Hipster Podcast. You can do it on a monthly basis, as little as 99 cents a month, which would be greatly appreciated and goes towards beer and equipment and cigarettes and booze. So that happens sometimes too. All the things we need.
I'm sorry, Paul. Yes. It's Halloween. Don't you meant the booze?
Wow. On location is my brother and co-host Adam. This is actually a special.
Am I the country hipster reporter in the field?
I guess so. Today you are. Yeah.
I'm gonna do the whole podcast like this.
You should. You should. It's usually Megan who's a reporter in the field, giving the Gen Z perspective, but today it is you. So we had some scheduling stuff go on. So we are actually doing this on a Saturday morning. I am drinking my coffee. So that's why we're doing this kind of on a different day for us. The same day for you, different day for us. So with the scheduling thing, also as announced on last week's episode, this is technically a Booze and Vinyl episode, but Tom, the country bartender, was also not available to record today or tomorrow when we were supposed to. Either way, he was unavailable. But this episode is on De La Soul, 3 Feet High and Rising, and it is featured in Booze and Vinyl Volume 1.
Oh, hold on. I think you're kind of glancing over. We are currently recording on Saturday, October 5th, and the reason why Tom wasn't available to record tomorrow is because he's out celebrating his birthday.
Which is actually tomorrow. Yes. Yeah. So happy birthday to Country Heartthrob. But that's all in the past now, Adam.
It's in the past. Yeah.
It's in the past. That's why I wasn't mentioning
it. News by this point.
I'm not living in the past. I'm moving forward.
Yeah.
Moving forward. I'm moving on.
That's what you
Yeah, exactly. So this is a Booze and Vinyl episode, but it's early in the morning, so it's too early to drink booze for me at any rate. But it is featured in Booze and Vinyl Volume 1, De La Soul, 3 Feet High and Rising. It is great, some great cocktail here. Now, here's the other thing too. We did talk about possibly doing this ourselves, but both of these recipes seemed like definitely beyond my skills as a bartender, my limited skills as a bartender. One of them being the Cupid cocktail. It includes an egg, which was kind of a little weird in itself anyway. And then the other being the Flame of Love. The Flame of Love, you actually literally have to light it on fire. So we're not going to do these cocktails, but we will tell you to go check out the recipes for the book review of Booze and Vinyl Volume 1. And the other cool stuff that's written here, Booze and Vinyl Volume 1 is by Tanaya Darlington and this dude, the fuck's his name? It's like written right here. Andre Darlington and his sister Tanaya Darlington wrote Booze and Vinyl Volume 1 as well as Booze and Vinyl Volume 2. But since we're not making the drinks here and this is a Booze and Vinyl episode, you know what I think I'm going to do, Adam?
What are we going to do, Paul?
Why don't I just get Andre Darlington up on the line and just talk to him about Booze and Vinyl in general?
It's about goddamn time we talked to him.
I know, because you know what? Really, what out of anything, like if I could talk to Andre Darlington, I think I'd just like to know that I'm not going to get sued. Like that's really what I'm trying to avoid here.
Question number one: how good is your lawyer?
Exactly. So why don't we do that right now? We have a very special guest on the Country Hipster podcast today. We welcome best-selling author of 12 cocktail books, including Forbidden Cocktails and Cowboy Cocktails, as well as A Booze and Vinyl Christmas, Bar Menu, Gotham City Cocktails, John Wayne, the official cocktail book, and the unofficial Big Lebowski cocktail book, as well as co-author of Booze and Vinyl 2, The New Cocktail Hour, and TMC's Movie Night Menus. His books have been translated into French, Chinese, Italian, Korean, and Russian. Let's give a country hipster welcome to Andre Darlington.
Yay!
Let's just be clapping for you today.
Having me on.
Yes, thank you for coming on. How are you doing today?
Good. It's a beautiful day. Finally, I'm in North Carolina these days, but I'm in the middle of the state, so I got hit by the hurricane, but not, nothing like up west in the mountains.
That's
but
good. Yeah.
It's shining, so it's good.
Nice. And okay, so real quick, you are in North Carolina. Am I correct in that you have some like local ties to the Philadelphia area?
For sure. I lived in Philly for almost 5 years, I want to say, from 2017 to about 2022.
Okay.
So I rode the pandemic through with Philadelphia.
Nice. Yeah.
And then moved down to North Carolina after that. So yeah, deep ties in Philadelphia. The publisher for the Booze and Vinyl series is in Philly.
Okay.
And I'm actually flying up to Philly in a couple weeks to do the next one, which we can
talk about. Awesome. We will get it. We will get into that in a little bit. And now your Tanaya is your sister, correct?
Correct.
Yep. And she co-wrote Booze and Vinyl 2, and I believe she's also an adjunct professor at St. Joe's University. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. Teaches English.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Cool.
Yep.
Nice. So definitely some Philadelphia ties there, and we are in Ottsville, which is about an hour and 15 minutes from Philly. But I grew up in Philly my whole life.
Okay. Yeah.
Northeast Philly, and then went to high school in Center City and all that kind of stuff in college, and now I live in the sticks, so it's nice. Good. Philly's always in my heart. It'll always be in my heart. So
good, right?
Yep. So how did you get into like writing about like food and drink?
Great question. I had a whole separate career as an IT guy, actually, in the late 90s and through the 2000s. And I moonlighted doing food writing. It was always a passion. And I started out as an amateur, and then I started writing for magazines and newspapers. And actually my first gig was I was a restaurant reviewer. And so my joke was I got the job because I was still really, young, and I stayed up later than anyone else at the paper, and nobody else wanted to like review late night eats. So I had basically kind of like a late night eats vibe and column. I made it really funny, so people looked forward to seeing it. It was basically about, which is funny given what my career turned into, but I really did start writing articles about what to eat when you're drunk for college kind of stuff. So full circle, now I do more craft cocktails. And it just went from there. It got to the point where the freelance writing, I couldn't do the full-time career and the freelance. The freelance writing started out as fun. It started out as a creative release. And then it got to the point where I was like, I have to cut over and either jump or not jump. And I jumped, which was completely scary and really crazy because I had a good job. Mm-hmm. Writing is not known for, being lucrative.
Right.
And within a year, we had written New Cocktail Hour, and it has been basically a book or two a year since basically 2015 kind of thing.
Nice.
So that's the short of it. Kind of followed a passion.
Cool. And I saw like this passion gets you traveling sometimes, huh? I saw recently you were in Chile in South America.
Yeah, so it was crazy. Just before the pandemic, I had pitched a book. Basically, I wanted to do a kind of let's do cocktails around the United States. We've had this craft cocktail boom. I was in Philadelphia already. I'd moved to Philly a couple years prior. And so this was basically early 2019, late 2018. We started talking about a book. And the publisher wanted it to be a global cocktail book. And I had traveled, but I hadn't been to the specifically spots like Singapore, which are these huge a huge cocktail town now. Had never been to Hong Kong. So I set out around the world and I circumnavigated the globe in 2019, hitting basically the majority of the big cocktail markets. And that became a book called Booze Cruise. So it turned global. The career kind of turned global. The Booze and Vinyl is very popular in some other countries. I did the book for Batman, which obviously is kind of popular all over the world. And also the cocktail world is very global. You know, people in Philly are talking to people in New York, and because of social media and Instagram, but also people regularly, you know, do bar pop-ups and whatnot. So there is kind of a global cocktail community.
Cool.
So yeah, it does involve quite a bit of travel. I did South America this year, and we'll see. It did, yeah. I tour a lot. There's a lot of books coming out, so I'm kind of averaging maybe 10 U.S. cities a year in general.
Okay.
And then probably about 5 foreign cities and foreign countries a year in the last few years.
So where would you say is like your favorite place that like your writing has taken you?
Well, one of my favorites was my publicist at the time was Ukrainian, and he encouraged me to go to Kiev. And was able to see Kiev. They were already in a hot war on the border, but there had been no invasion. This was 2019.
Okay.
And I just feel lucky for stuff like that. I've also, you know, my writing took me to Beirut, you know, which is always goes in and out of trouble. Of course, there's trouble there again. So some of the places that, you know, my friends always joke, like wherever Andre's going, there's going to be a civil war next year. So you want to go. I just went to, you know, Argentina, and everybody was really worried. You know, they have a collapsing currency there, and people said it would be really difficult, but it actually wasn't. And I was in Lebanon actually during an uprising. They actually had riots over cell phone charges. A cell phone carrier wanted to charge like 10 cents a call or a text or something, and they had an uprising, and the banks were closed and whatnot. But you find out, of course, that people on the ground are so friendly and really hospitable. And the kind of fear mongering that you hear on the newspaper is never quite as bad as it is when you get there. You're like, it's fine. So Kiev is one. And also, you know, the Far East is always amazing and really on fire right now. So places like Hong Kong, Singapore, Tokyo has always been at the top.
Nice.
Cocktail cities. So yeah, some exotic stuff I never thought I would be visiting, certainly as a drinks writer, you know, because I predate the cocktail revolution pretty much. You know, when I first came out of college, bars did not have menus. We were drinking vodka.
Yeah.
You know, and so to see this explode like it has over the last 25 years, let's say, has been really pretty amazing, and certainly a gift.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So as I mentioned in the opening, you are the co-author of Booze and Vinyl as well as Booze and Vinyl 2. And last year you released Booze and Vinyl Christmas. And you were saying that this is like pretty much the anniversary of it now, right? The 1-year anniversary?
I think it's around this week last year. So there's always like kind of a Super Tuesday in early October when the big books get released by publishers during the year. And I think it's probably basically today. That's the anniversary. You know, I don't make a huge deal out of it because it feels awfully early to be talking about Christmas. We got to get through Halloween and Thanksgiving. But at the same time, it is exciting. The book came out, you know, it comes out like kind of you know, this was a really fun book. I love Booze and Vinyl Christmas. One of the reasons I wanted to do it is the publishers we thought, should we do a 3? We could do a 3. I would love to do a 3. But a lot of people have put out different suggestions of other things. And the publisher thought, how about we do all Christmas albums? I don't remember how that idea got going. And I jumped at the chance because it was my chance to do basically cold weather cocktails, you know, which are a specific set. There is sort of a holiday cocktail vibe. You know, it starts now with basically pumpkin spice and sweet potatoes or whatever people are doing, and then goes all the way up to, you know, peppermint and, you know, hot chocolates during wintertime. So I jumped at the chance to do the book. It was really well received. It's super fun. It's a gorgeous book. The publisher does a gorgeous job with all of them. But they really kind of nailed this Christmas vibe. So that was last year. Yeah.
Nice.
which I think is how we
Yes.
met, because you were doing your podcast
Yep.
over the holidays.
Yep. Yep.
And we can talk about it a little bit, but I like to say, like, what is the attraction to vinyl? It's the presence and the warmth, right? That people talk about vinyl that digital doesn't have. And what struck me writing the Booze and Vinyl Christmas album was it's like doubly true, right? For like,
Uh-huh.
you put on Perry Como, or you put on the Carpenters, or you put on whatever your favorite holiday album happens to be. And the vinyl,
Yep.
you're just not going to get that with
And,
digital.
and the cool thing, and I think this is about Christmas records in general, is that, like, people go out and they'll buy records, and they want, like, especially, people who are buying brand new records and audio files and stuff like that. They want, like, the perfect vinyl sound, right? Except at Christmas, I think you need the noise, you need the pops, you need the cracks in the Christmas record, to go along with the drinks and the food, and you know what I mean. And if you're lucky enough to have a fireplace, have that crackling in the background. I think that's that. Like, in my opinion, vinyl's romantic, and Christmas is one of the times where it becomes even more romantic.
Yeah,
And
exactly. And it's funny. Going into this, when I first wrote the first book, I went across the country in a mobile listening van with Crosley turntables. They make the
okay,
little $100
yep,
jobbies, little suitcases, and a lot of audiophiles were like, "Oh, Crosley, it'll ruin your vinyl," blah blah. But my argument always was like, "Listen, these guys are selling 30 million turntables a
mm-hmm,
year at that time. They're getting people into vinyl. You have to have the gateway. We
yep,
don't all start out drinking fancy cocktails. You start out drinking, whatever
I,
your dad drank that's not
yep,
great, and or your family, and then you have to walk your way there. So I was
yep,
never. I'm not an elitist. I really think that everybody should have access to vinyl.
yes,
So anyway, but the funny thing is on this bus, these guys would come in and be like, "Yeah, Crosley turntables. They're not great, but I'll tell you, they're exactly what this crap sounded like in the
yes,
60s. We did not
yep,
have good turntables.
nope,
They were under our beds. They were cheap. They ruined, you put on Queen and it ruined it after a year of playing it.
yep,
So I'm not saying, you should upgrade from Crosley. I'm not saying that at all. But I agree with you that Christmas, the pops, the hisses, the just putting it on at all, like you're
yep,
not going to notice,
yep, yep.
Um, so I agree that, and I grew up with vinyl playing at Christmas, and so I have some of those vinyl albums. You're like, yeah, it just the hisses and pops and having to turn. I mean, you're guaranteed to have your hands in like some butter, or making cookies or something when you need to flip the side B, right? That's
Yep,
Christmas.
yep. Absolutely, absolutely. That's what's great about it. It is, and that is the thing with vinyl. And I agree with you. I agree with you with the Crosley. I don't particularly care for the Crosley turntables, but I agree that it is kind of like the gateway drug to collecting vinyl.
Exactly. If
You,
that's how
you,
some people are accessing it, great.
yep. Yep, and I know my first turntable that I bought when I started collecting again wasn't the nicest turntable. And then as the more I was collecting, the more I learned, I was like, okay, well, I want to invest a little bit more into my equipment, and that's fine to do. But honestly, a lot of the equipment that I have, as far as my receiver goes, my speakers go, I've bought at thrift shops. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's not like I'm going out there and buying like, $1,500 Polk audio speakers and crazy, tube amps or stuff like that. And I have a nice setup, and it's cool. And I still, keep looking for equipment. One of the things I want to get, and well, I kind of have one. We're supposed to be turning it into a dry bar, but like I want to get one of the big like consoles where it was, the big like basically
Yeah.
a piece of furniture with the turntable in there, and you can put some of your records in there and
Yeah.
had a radio and all that kind of stuff. I want to get one of them and just have it just playing all the time, because those things are just so cool, and they're so big, and they're just beautiful. The little one we have doesn't, like, it's not, we can't refurbish it to play records, but which is why eventually our plan is to refurbish it and make it into a dry bar here in the
Nice.
Ottsville Record Garage. So
Yeah, I mean, I always feel like, it takes everybody. The audiophile guys and gals, they certainly are leading,
mhm.
leading a lot of technological comeback. But at the same time, I on the road, I get asked all the time. Somebody will come up to me and be like, "Hey, I want to get your book and 3 albums and a turntable for my kid when they're graduating from college." And
Yep.
that the the price of that can't be too high, or no one
Right.
will get into it. You
Yep.
know, and it's up to people whether if they really love it, then they can always upgrade. It's so funny too. So many people come up to me and say, I have like 20 albums, but I don't even have a record player. I just
Yep.
like them. And it's like,
Yep.
you know, just buy an Audio Technica or one of these little things, you know, and do wireless and get into it, you know, and then absolutely hit your secondhand stores for the equipment.
And that's what I always tell people who like will come to me, especially if they're friends, you know, and they'll say, hey, I got my, you know, my uncle's vinyl collection, you know, what can I do with it? And 9 out of 10 times, well, yeah, 9 out of 10 times, not 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Sometimes my friends have really good stuff that I really want. But the 9 out of 10 times, I will say what you should do is keep them and listen to them and get yourself a turntable. That's what you should do. If you really don't want them, cool, I'll buy them from you and, you know, probably resell them. But like, you know, you should have them. You should listen to them, you know? So do you have, sorry, go ahead.
Go into that, you know, like just at least do it for like a year or 6 months or over the holidays and listen through them all and have a good time. And then if you decide that it's just taking up too much space or whatever, send them downriver, or if it's not your taste or whatever.
Yep, exactly.
It's just cool. Anyway.
Do you have a personal vinyl collection?
I do. Yeah. And I, you know, a long time ago, I had to institute basically a 1 in, 1 out. Which is real tough. So I have gotten rid of some stuff that I love. I'm always buying. So as you know, I'm always, you know, you're always buying. And I'm always buying ahead. I have what I like to listen to personally. And then, you know, the books, obviously I like most of the stuff that I put in my books, but you know, the books are for really kind of trying to be populist and really trying to cover a lot of ground.
Yes.
And it always surprises me writing the books that I fall in love with something that I didn't know I would fall in love with. So that's part of the fun of the books. And I get to have that fun too, writing them, which is kind of cool.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you. How did you go about selecting the albums and the drinks to like pair with those albums?
So it's a weird one. Booze and Vinyl 1, we was probably the easiest to come up with the albums because we were going for the greatest albums, and we wanted to have a nice variety within kind of great albums. There are a few rules. One is that like you can have those great albums that we all love, but side B is a dog, or like there's just a killer song, like song 2 just sucks.
Yes,
and so it had to set a vibe. It had to be an album that sets a vibe. And that vibe is really, you know, distinct, you know, everything from like, let's say Bjork to AC/DC, right? Each one of those things really has a kind of universe that you compare to. So we're looking for really strong stuff. What was interesting about Booze and Vinyl 1 is my career completely changed in the middle of 1 and the other books, in that I started out as a journalist. My idea was, I'm a journalist. I'd owned a bar. I owned a bar for 2 years.
Nice.
Craft cocktails, you know. But I had a lead bartender, you know, and I was kind of more of a food and wine guy. We had a big wine program, and I did the wine, and then the cocktail guy did his thing, and. You know, but my idea was I'm not going to come up with stuff because I'm a journalist, and you know, that's their job, and my job is to write about stuff. And in sort of 2018, that really changed because I got the deal to do Batman, and Warner Brothers and the publisher wanted unique cocktails. They're like, no, we want your cocktails. So I was like, I'll go set out and get a bunch of bartenders, and we'll put this book together. No, we want your drinks. And I thought, this is such a cool project, now or never. And I did kind of, Batman is, you know, not to go on this too long, but Batman, you know, you're going to get all of your tribes. If you want something like a Negroni, you want something like a whiskey. I always think each one of my cocktail books could be baby's first cocktail book they've ever owned. And I want to make sure that if they go through it, they're going to have a real cocktail education. So Booze and Vinyl 2 already are a lot of unique new drinks. And I think part of it was my career changed to making the recipes, but also the industry changed in that when I first put out the cocktail book, the new cocktail hour in 2016, we might have been getting 10, 15, 20 cocktail books a year. by 2018, 2019 already, we're at 300 cocktail books a year.
Wow.
So my thought was, everyone's seen all the classics. I've written a book of classics. You want classics? Go buy the New Cocktail Hour. You want classics? Go look at other people's classics books, and then the internet. And so you could just go out there and look at stuff on the internet, and you can find whatever you want. So my idea with Booze and Vinyl 2 was, I had done a few of my own original Drinks by Then books. And my thought was, we can hew closer even to these albums. I don't have to do like a Boilermaker or some of the classic stuff. So not to say that Booze and Vinyl isn't a ton of fun, which it is, and you can get a cocktail education doing it. But 2, sort of the lid comes off, and some much wilder, I think more modern. A lot of those drinks are really kind of in a much more modern vein, where Booze and Vinyl 1 is classics. So that's kind of the I guess I've lost the original question you had.
It was just how did you go about selecting? No, you're really you're there. You're still there. So it is interesting.
So the selection is, so just to wrap it up then, the selection is mood by Booze and Vinyl 1 was much easier. It was like, oh, we have a Manhattan. Who gets that? Sinatra.
I got
right?
You. Okay.
Stuff like that. And it's a lot of fun. They're really obvious in a way, a lot of them, but then some of them are kind of fun surprises. By 2, I'm writing drinks for the albums.
Okay.
And I'm looking at what did the artists like to drink themselves? Always look at that. What was the era that they're in? Can I find out anything about it? For instance, deep dives on all the albums. I mean, a gold, kind of like finding gold is something like Blondie, where I found the original menu for Max's Kansas City and New York City. And I found it's basically on microfiche, and there's a cocktail called Blondie on there that was written for them when they were first starting to play at Max's Kansas City. It's basically a golden Cadillac. It's like a cream Galliano drink. But I'm like, that's it. That's their drink. Like, you can actually listen to Blondie and you're drinking the drink that was at Max's Kansas City while Debbie Harry was like learning how to sing.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of how I pair Booze and Vinyl Christmas. Similar, looking for the vibe, the sparkle. If the album's kind of country, I go that way. And then I had a lot of, they're just like different holiday drink tribes. And I kind of divided it up, who gets the kind of creamy, who gets the sparkly, who gets that warm, that kind of thing. So nice. It's a quite a long process. It was funny. One time my editor was like, there was an error and we had to change drinks around. And she was like, yeah, can you get me another drink by the end of the day? And I was like, that is not how this works at all.
Yeah. Not at all.
I need a week because I have to come up with the drinks and then I do recipe test them all. So we're talking a lot for these booze. So first of all, these Booze and Vinyl books are huge compared to the rest of the market. 70 albums. We're talking 140 drinks.
Yeah.
Most cocktail books you pick up off the shelf are 50 cocktails.
Yeah.
So they're just huge. I have a guy that flies down. He was in Philly before that, and we would do it at my house there. And now I fly him down to North Carolina, and we recipe test for a week for the books.
Nice. Well, and that's what I was going to ask you. Do you ever find yourself, whether when you're testing them out or just in general, do you ever find yourself like putting on the record and then making the drink that's in the book yourself and just sitting there and sipping on them?
Yeah, for sure. More at the end of it, we've listened to stuff. We're really doing balance. There's a lot of balance and there's a lot of, taking a drink. It's basically, I write the drinks on paper. And then, we have to make sure that works and that's good. Okay. And then we have some that fall apart. And then we have a lot of drinks that are just absolutely delicious. So we sneak those into the fridge and then we have like a listening session after, sort of after the day's work, because during the day, it's a lot of, just like wine tasting, you're sort of making cocktails and you're tasting it with a straw and out it goes, you can't drink it.
Wait, is that how you're supposed to do a wine tasting? Because whenever I go, I'm like, yeah, no, I'll take that. Yeah, I'll take that. So
the whole thing. It depends on the wine tasting.
Yes, it does. It does. I generally, whenever I go on wine tastings, I end up being the spittoon. So it's like, someone's like, I don't like this. I'm like, bring it here, because
That's
but
delicious. Yeah.
it's funny. I can
Oh
do
yeah,
that
if you're at a winery or something,
yes,
drink it all. But
yes,
if you're doing like evaluations, you have to spit. Or if you go into a really great bar, your bartender will take a straw and make sure that they've made the drink correctly for you.
yeah,
That's basically what we're doing. So, and then it's a lot of like saltines or something in between to like clear our palates out.
nice. So like real booze and vinyl parties as you're like putting the drinks together.
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. For about 3 days, 4 days.
Can I come to one of those parties, please?
Yes. It's so funny in the beginning, when I first did the new cocktail hour, I was recipe testing some drinks for that too, because so many drinks have multiple different builds out there, and you want
yes.
you want to know which one's for you or which product to recommend. And I was like, oh, the perfect way to do this is to have like 8 people over there at an open concept kitchen, 8 people in the living room, and I'll make drinks, or a couple of us will make drinks, and we'll all evaluate them, and whatever falls apart in like 20 minutes. 20 minutes, you're like, I don't have any notes. This is just a cocktail party.
Nice.
I don't even remember what we made. I didn't really, focus.
It's almost like an episode of the Country Hipster Podcast, because we tend to fall apart and go in different directions as well.
And there's no more fun to be had, right? There's no more fun to be had. The problem is you got a book due.
Yep. So when we started the podcast, my plan was just to make the drinks myself. But it was very painfully obvious from the beginning that like I have very limited bartending skills. Can make a good martini. I was told I make a good Cosmo. Other than that, I'm a shot and beer guy. I worked in Northeast Philly bars besides the time I worked at a downtown bar, and the downtown bar only let me cook. So they knew better. But, that is though from the podcast when we actually had our bartender, Tom, the official bartender of the Country Hipster Podcast, offered his services, and he's been doing it since. So he wanted me to ask you, and I quote, this is a direct quote, "What's with all the damn Amaro?"
Is there one on tomorrow?
Well,
I guess
I don't know if it's throughout the
maybe
book.
Christmas there is.
Yeah, it's I don't know if it's necessarily throughout all the books, but all of the albums that we've picked so far that are booze and vinyl episodes happen to have, it's usually gin and Amaro are like the main ingredients to almost everything that we've done so far. And it's like,
well, you may be choosing especially good albums, because it's like, ooh, who gets the Amaro? That's funny. So when I do the books, the short answer for how I choose albums is things end up in a huge spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
And, we kind of roll through it and see what works and what's not going to work. For the ingredients, then, I do kind of write the book, and then while we're recipe testing or a little bit before, I will go through and be like, can I use things multiple times? So if I'm asking somebody to buy Amaro, which so many Americans don't own Amaro.
Right. I own a bunch of it now.
Yeah. All right. I hope you like it. You must. And it's like a category. It's kind of like a sherry or something. People just have had it, or they've had a bad version of it. So I make sure that it appears multiple times, but probably not more than like 7 times. So you might just be choosing albums that are in sort of a Manhattan Negroni.
Right.
I think certainly in Booze and Vinyl 1, Amaro was sort of a stand-in for like, this has rye, this has Amaro, that's rock and roll.
Okay. Yeah. No. Okay. I can see that. Nice.
A little bit. It's like if you're going to replace the vermouth, what are you going to replace it with? Well, something with more flavor.
Okay.
So that could be it. But that's funny. That's a funny. I mean, I'd rather have that feedback than, I really go through great lengths to edit the ingredient list, because I don't want my first review on Amazon to be like, I love this book, I couldn't find anything, and 750 different bottles to make this book. Yes. So I really make sure I try to keep it edited.
Well, and that is one of the things that I did notice to this, because I have to tell you, we do, and I'll give you a little more insight to this. We actually do we do book reviews on the podcast of the Booze and Vinyl books, because like as I had said, we it was the inspiration for the podcast. I've never really been shy about saying like this is like a marketing thing for the Outsville Record Garage, and my initial thought was to take the Booze and Vinyl books because someone had gotten me the first one for Christmas one year. So my initial thought was to take the Booze and Vinyl books and I'll just go recipe by recipe, record by record. That'll be the podcast. Then I read this little liner note that basically said that I can't do that because you can't use the Booze and Vinyl stuff for any other reason other than what it was intended for. But I can do book reviews. So every time we do this, we're doing a book review. and I have to ask you, this is a very serious question. Can you please not sue me?
Well, let's find out. I mean, I could sue you for some.
That's a good answer. My wife's going to love that one. She's going to be like, you didn't clear that up, did you? I'm like, no, I didn't.
No, all marketing is good marketing. I mean, I think, there have been people for sure that, Booze and Vinyl is funny because it's global. I had a friend go to a bar in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the whole wall says Booze and Vinyl in the font of the book. And it's like, I think their interior designer did it and the owners don't even know that it's from, it's just like, it went out into the zeitgeist, in a way. But and there are people who are like, will create a handle that's like Booze and Vinyl and pretend it's theirs. And that, that obviously sucks for any artist doing anything.
Yeah.
But the rest is just marketing as far as I'm concerned. I mean, when you open your store, I'd love to come and sign books there,
Oh, that'd be great.
And, my feeling is when I launched the book, we launched it on Record Store Day and vinyl wasn't quite where it's at.
Right.
When we first launched it, we were like, this should be in, Urban Outfitters and stuff, and it was like Urban Outfitters was like Vinyl Curious.
Yes.
But now like Target has it. You can go to a Barnes and Noble. They have it. You can go to I think Walmart has vinyl now,
Yep.
So it's really changed just since we went on that tour. But our original tour in 2018 was like, let's go to record stores. Let's I did giveaways of turntables at all the stores. It was basically like, let's all buy vinyl, that was the point. And a lot of it was like, I love vinyl. I love music. I love cocktails. If cocktails sell people on buying vinyl and having this experience together, and, the point of vinyl is obviously the romance and the intimacy of it and all that. But it's also like you're going back to listening to what the artist's original statement was meant to be over a period of time per side. You got 20 minutes, a half hour. So that is certainly an extended period, experience from what we've got in our earbuds nowadays, where you can just choose everything. I have so much great music on my iPad or iPhone, and I don't know any of the names of the bands half the time. I'm like, I love that song. It's so
I'm the same way. Yep.
Artist and the product, and vinyl really reconnects people. And so when I went to do the mobile listening van, it was amazing how multiple generations would come on the van at the same time. A grandfather who'd grown up with 45s, 78s even, and grandkid who was getting into vinyl. And you could tell that it was like, this is something that you can do together instead of your iPad, which is, something you do alone. And so the original impetus and the impetus of the whole book is exactly what you're doing, which is get people together, and make some drinks, and buy this vinyl and talk about these albums that are so great. So nice. My hope is that people end up with a good home stock bar, which apparently we'll have a lot of tomorrow.
True.
They'll also have, even if they don't love every album, if you buy all 70 albums, it's pretty interesting.
It's a hell of a collection, actually, if you get all 70 albums. It is. It's a hell of a collection.
Yeah, you end up with everything from arguably some of the greatest jazz albums of all time, right? That some people know that, but a lot of people don't. To on Booze and Vinyl 2, a couple of the greatest electronica albums of all time. It's amazing what people find that they like or don't like.
I was super amped to see that you had Kraftwerk in there, because I think Kraftwerk's a band that gets overlooked a lot, and especially with how big EMD is right now, or EDM. I don't know. I'm dyslexic. I probably messed it up. But as big as that is right now, and does Kraftwerk get the credit they deserve for basically
creating a genre.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
the electrical music. It's great. It's so awesome. So
Yeah,
yeah, that is.
I really started honing in on Booze and Vinyl 1 was certainly watershed albums and sort of great albums in certain genres. And I was also very careful to like, it's easy in vinyl. You could have all albums from the 70s.
Yeah.
It all sounds incredible. It's all amazing. So I really wanted to have good diversity. And I think that shocked a lot of people. And I think that's part of the reason why the book is so popular. It's like, oh my God, you've got like, there's hip hop to singer songwriter. And I think that the diversity, and then by 2, it was a lot of like, what are some really earth shattering, groundbreaking albums that aren't just like necessarily bestsellers? Because I think in the US, we don't think of Kraftwerk as a bestseller.
Right. Exactly.
But it was, and it also just created an entire genre. So,
Awesome.
And it's fun. And it's amazing how many people like that. My mom's boyfriend came over one time and I was playing Kraftwerk and then the XX, another great electronica band.
Yes.
And he was like holding it and like listening. He's like, "What is this? This is fantastic."
Yep. Yep.
I'm like, have another drink.
Yeah. And that's kind of the cool thing about it too, is if you have someone who's not necessarily a fan of the album, but is a fan of the cocktail, and they're drinking and is going, and it makes that connection. It gets people like talking, like you said, like, wait, what is this? I have to look at this another way and hear it differently. I've had it happen on the podcast, whereas, my brother brings me an album of one of his where I'm just like, in my mind, it is the crappiest album ever made. And I've never actually listened to it. I'm just like, this band just sucks. I just know they suck. And then I listen to it and I'm like, oh no, this is pretty damn amazing, and that's, it's a good thing. And especially when you can take, through cocktails and make that, a gateway to new music. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah. And getting people to share that, to have people just, everybody bring an album over and
Yep. That's awesome. So speaking of my co-host, Adam, he also wanted me to ask you a question. And that would be when you're just sitting at home, relaxing, chilling out, whether you're listening to a record or just like end of the day, just, relaxing, like what is your go-to cocktail?
It's a great question. It changes kind of seasonally, but I will say that after making so many cocktails and I go out for cocktails and I live in a world of cocktails, I do a lot of martinis and Manhattans just to keep the sugar down, just because they are sort of like these pure expressions. I love playing with martinis. I have quite a bar down here. So no martini is necessarily the same.
Do you prefer gin or vodka martinis?
I go back and forth. I certainly was a vodka martini drinker when I was younger. I'm more of a martini drinker now. But I kind of like to surprise myself. I'll just, variety really is the spice of life. And it's like, I've been having, I'll drink a certain amount of martinis with X gin in it and then just completely change it up. For a while I want something dry and then I'll go on like a really olive kick with olives. So it's kind of all over the place. I do a lot of Manhattans too, but then there's a fair amount of, tequila in there. Especially in the summer months, where I tend to do more fruit, probably more fruit forward juice drinks in like deep summer and deep winter.
Okay.
Because fruit is so good, citrus is so good around the holidays.
Yep.
So I'm more likely to do something juice. And then in the summertime, fruit juice is great.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, for people at home, you don't have to have anything perishable. And you can make martinis and Manhattans. Nice. And those are certainly, but I do a lot of Negronis too.
Okay.
And I play with that. I would say, for me, it's probably a Manhattan that is really, what would I order if I didn't really know a bar and I kind of walk in and want something?
Okay. Very nice. Very nice. So you announced fairly recently on social media that there will be a 4th Booze and Vinyl, I believe. Can you tell us anything about that?
Booze and Vinyl. It's exciting. We talked about this for a while. So I go on book tour and people have all kinds of ideas. One of which to go.
I have one for you too, by the way. But
I want to hear it. One is to go by decades, which I would love to do. Christmas sort of percolated as like a surprise. Like, oh, let's not just do a 3. Let's do Christmas. So it came. We've been talking about this for a while, and I was actually pretty excited to do it because again, it's a very specific kind of vibe and feel. So it is Booze and Vinyl Country.
Nice.
So it's and country means a lot of things to a lot of people, but there's definitely going to be all your old school country in there.
Good.
Your Johnny Cash, which I have feathered into a lot of the other Booze and Vinyls. Cash and Willie and Dolly and even Lucinda Williams are in Booze and Vinyl 1 and 2. So this one is all country. A little bit one out of left field, although country is having a moment. Once again, we thought of this sort of like last year, and then it's like Beyonce comes out with a country album, and
Post Malone just put one out.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I don't know how we felt that. You just kind of feel something in the zeitgeist, I guess.
Yep.
One of the things that's amazing to me, is country my genre? Sure, I do love it. I do love country. Do I listen to it all day, every day, as some country fans do? I do not. Well, one of the great things is it sounds so great on vinyl. And it sounds so great on so many different types of stereo systems because you've kind of got this like semi-rock beat or acoustic thing going on, and then voice, which is really kind of what 70s rock is too. Which sounds obviously so great on hi-fi. So really excited about this one. I fly up to Philadelphia in a couple weeks to shoot it.
Nice.
In Philly. So Booze and Vinyl Country will be out in fall of 2025.
Fall 2025. Nice. Just in time for season 3 of the Country
Exactly.
Hipster podcast. There you go. So my idea for a Booze and Vinyl book would actually be it'd be called Winyl, and it would be, and it could go either way. A fine wine lover's guide to vinyl, or a vinyl lover's guide to fine wine. One or the other.
I want to put you in contact with my publisher because I would love to do that. I started as a wine writer, and what was funny is back in the day, I pitched wine books in the beginning of my career, and people were sort of like, "Yeah, they sell okay." And I think that was before. I feel like millennials and Gen Z really ran with wine in a way that our generation didn't quite. We're sort of like, not to date ourselves, but I'm sort of like Gen X-y, and the boomers had their way of drinking. And then you and I feel like are in between, like kids really.
We just got drunk,
bottles of wine together, They're more connoisseurs, I think, than we were. They're more connoisseurs at their age than we were at our age, I think.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to say. And so I would love to do a book like that. There are a couple bars around the country that do wine and vinyl nights.
Okay.
And that would be really fun. I feel like some of Booze and Vinyl's success is the simple fact that there is a recipe to experience.
Yes.
Which adds to it. So wine and vinyl, I might have to do food or something because otherwise you're just popping a bottle, and can you get the bottle and that kind of thing. But yeah, I would love that. That's a great one. I mean, that would be a podcast I would do. I know I'm known for the cocktail thing, but
we'll collab. We'll collab. We'll do a separate podcast. Yeah. I know you know.
A wine club. Actually, you could do a wine club. You send a vinyl out. You send wine out.
There you go. We're like making a whole business plan here. This is gonna be good. So,
well, people always ask, what do you drink at home? And I always joke, it takes a lot of beer and wine to write a cocktail book. Yeah. Because at the end of it, you just don't want a cocktail at the end of the day of drinking cocktails.
I hear. Well, I play music a lot, and people are like, "Oh, you must play all the time at home." I'm like, I do not touch my guitar like barely at all when I'm at home. Like it's like I don't want to do it because I'm playing music all the time. Why do I want to sit at home and do it? So I get
there's a lot of that. Yeah. Am I making fancy cocktails for myself every night? No. If people are coming over, yeah. Do I have clear ice in the freezer? Of course. Do I drink clear ice every night with a little umbrella? No.
I hear you. So what are ways that like our listeners or viewers can like follow you and know what you're up to and ultimately purchase your books?
Yeah, so I'm Andre Darlington on everything. There's an AndreDarlington.com. There is a boozeandvinyl.com. You can follow along there. Andre Darlington at Instagram, on Facebook. There's a Facebook page to follow along. There's a newsletter which you can get to, which is sort of Andre Darlington at Substack. The newsletter is fun. Certainly around the holidays, I do giveaways of older books or new stuff that's coming out. So that's kind of a rad one. Or just have tour information. That kind of stuff out on my website. The books are available everywhere books are sold, including the outfit that shall not be named Amazon, but go to go to an independent and ask for it. It's really, I'm blessed. It's really, the books are everywhere.
Nice.
So it's super fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on and spending some time with us. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat about records and booze and drinks and all that kind of stuff. It was really a pleasure to meet you, virtually here. And like I said, the books are ultimately what inspired the Country Hipster podcast. So I thank you for that. And please don't sue me. So
we're doing event together. That's the way to go. Thank you so much for having me on. Really, really honored. Honored that you're doing the whole series. This is exactly what I wanted the books to do, which is inspire people to go out and listen to music and buy vinyl and whatnot. Fantastic being on the show. Best of luck with opening. Best of luck with your vinyl.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we're back. Thank you, Andre Darlington, for sitting down with me for a few minutes there and just talking about booze and vinyl and his adventures and his the stuff that he's doing is amazing. Check out Booze and Vinyl Volume 1, Volume 2, the Christmas Booze and Vinyl, as well as the upcoming country music Booze and Vinyl, which is going to be pretty cool. And all things Andre Darlington. If you can follow him on Instagram, as I'm sure he just mentioned. And, his books are available everywhere because he doesn't just do booze and vinyl books. He does so many different types of books, drink books and whatnot. And it's really cool. So thank you, Andre, for being on. And please don't sue me. So on to the album we're here to talk about. It is De La Soul, 3 Feet High and Rising. All right. So here's some factoids here. Actually, I have a decent amount of factoids here. This is the debut album from De La Soul, which was released on February 6, 1989 by Tommy Boy Records. It is the first of 3 collaborations with producer Prince Paul. And the title actually is a take on the Johnny Cash song 5 Feet High and Rising, which I believe is about a flood. In 1989, The Source selected it as on its list of 100 best rap albums. In 2020, it ranked 103 on the Rolling Stone Top 500 albums, but was also listed on the 2003 and 2012 versions of that list, both times coming in at 346. So it was a big jump. I think we had mentioned before that for the 2020 list, Rolling Stone had kind of changed some of the requirements, or not requirements, but the standards in which they were ranking the albums. And so certain albums, definitely moved up. In my opinion, 103 is probably a perfect spot for this album. 346 is way too low. Now, here's the other cool thing about this album. In 2010, it was selected by the Library of Congress to be added to the National Registry for being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant.
There's something else that we've covered that, and I want to say it was one of my, maybe... Was it Willie Nelson?
I think it might have been Willie Nelson was also added to the Library of Congress. Yeah.
I remember me personally having to say that.
Yeah.
So it was one of my albums, and the only thing I could think of that would have been fucking added to the Library of Congress would be Willie Nelson's.
You don't think Steel Train or Fun would be added to the Library of Congress? No, because the Library of Congress has standards and good taste. So, at any rate, yes, I do believe it was the Willie Nelson album, as you had said. As of 2023, it was certified platinum, selling over 1 million copies. Funny thing about this album, it came out in 1989, was definitely released on vinyl, CD, and I believe cassette at the time. But it was not digitally released until 2023 due to concerns about the legality of the samples that are used throughout the album. Mm-hmm. When this was released in the late 80s, that was when gangster rap was on the rise. And De La Soul had a little bit of a different approach, having a more positive style, which also had them labeled as a hippie group. And they actually make mentions, like throughout the album being like the hippies and the flower children and all that kind of stuff. This album is sample heavy and has been noted for its use of unconventional song structures. Some of the samples include Johnny Cash, Hall & Oates, Steely Dan, the Turtles. They got into jazz stuff. They got into children's music stuff, all for the samples, which is pretty cool. It's aside from the samples, it's also been noted that it is responsible for creating the hip hop skit, which is a style of sketch comedy used to both introduce rap albums as well as interludes between songs. I know there are a few albums after this that definitely that I know started putting that in there, which is pretty cool. There were 9 singles released off of this album. Now, there's a lot of tracks on this album. I forget the exact amount of tracks. There's a lot of tracks, but they had 9 singles released on this album. For the charting, it hit number 1 on the Billboard R&B weekly charts, R&B and hip hop albums. In the 1989 year-end charts, it was 86 on the Billboard 200 and 17 on the rap and hip hop at year-end charts. And it charted again in 2023, where it hit number 15 on the U.S. Billboard 200. So those are the main factoids. There's a lot more factoids about De La Soul and this album in general, but we're not going to get into all of them. So, but we our podcasts are long enough as it is. So I'm going to get into my feelings about this album. We already know that I like it. It was one of my picks. So I'm going to defer to you to start off the feelings. Let's talk about the feelings, Adam.
It's a good fucking album. That's how I feel about it. It's a good fucking album. I couldn't help it while listening to it think like how like half the songs seem like they'd fit right in on the first Tony Hawk's Pro Skater soundtrack.
Okay.
Yeah, I was trying to think of like how to describe it while listening to it, and I think I think my brain is so used to like current rap music and current hip hop music that like this just seems like the way that my brain wants to describe it is like wholesome rap.
A little bit. No, and I do get that. It is kind of that, especially when you think about when it came out, was the rise of NWA and Ice Cube and Ice-T,
Yeah.
and, Naughty by Nature. And, a lot of that stuff was definitely on the rise there. I forget when The Chronic and Doggy Style came out, but I know that was like late 80s, early 90s. I think might have been like more early 90s, but like that was definitely the way that rap music was going. Talking about the gangster lifestyle, thug life, and
Chronic
violence and drugs. And what's that?
Chronic was 92.
Okay, so but it was still all in that area, and it definitely, which was pretty amazing because it definitely for a debut album as well, went in a completely different direction, and in true De La Soul style, did their own thing.
Doggy Style was 93.
Okay, so still like a relative time there, but go on. I'm sorry.
I liked it a lot. I thought it was like I could just put it on and just kind of chill and relax through it. It was like, it wasn't like super like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like it's not like an aggressive listen. Like it's just like I can imagine just like kind of throwing it on like during like a barbecue or some shit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But
which it's funny because one of the things that says, one of the good things about Booze and Vinyl Volume 1 and Volume 2, as well as the Christmas, is to it goes back and like, it gives you like ideas of when to spin it. And one of the things that says to when to spin this album is during housewarming parties.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, yeah. Which I can totally see. Like, you know what I mean? You got a bunch of people over, and it's just like, hey, let's throw on De La Soul, 3 Feet High and Rising. So,
yeah.
Yep. I can totally see
that. The one thing I will say is I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed listening to it and trying to pick out the samples.
Okay.
I think one of the best ones. I think one of my favorite samples on the album is shit. Which album is it? Is it what the fuck? Well, we'll get to this a little bit later, but now I gotta fucking look up the album again. But it's fuck a little bit of soap. A little bit of soap samples. What's it called? Dum 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 dum.
What? Lean on Me?
Lean on Me. There you go.
That's not Lean on Me.
That's not Lean on Me?
That's not Lean on Me. No, it's a different song. It's a different song. I forget what it is, but it's
it's not Lean on Me.
A little bit of soap will help you wash away your rain. No, it's not Stand By Me either.
Fuck you. Yes, it is. I'm listening to it right now.
That's not. It's a little bit of soap will wash away your pain. It's like something like that. So it's not Stand By Me. I'm telling you, it's not Stand By Me. I would bet the big D on it that it's not Stand By Me. But it is that old, you know. No, I mean, the guy sings on the end of the end of the song.
And I'm assuming Stand By Me sampled that thing too, because that is the doom. That is fucking Stand By Me, dude.
It's a very similar standard kind of bass line, you know what I mean? It's not, you know, but it's not, definitely does not sample Benny King's Stand By Me there.
Fuck you. It sounds like Stand By Me. I'm going with Stand By Me.
Okay.
In my head, I liked this. I liked the song more than I really did because I thought it was sampling Stand By Me. So fuck you, Stand By Me. Yeah, like it was. That was like my favorite part of the album was like sitting there trying to figure out what the sample was. There was a couple. Apparently I didn't fucking recognize any of them. But there was like a couple where I thought I recognized. And I'm like, oh shit, that's like that was really fucking clever how they did that.
No, there are. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was saying something I've always kind of enjoyed about rap music that is like sample heavy is like listening to how they use the sample and then listening to the original thing and then listening to how they use the sample, and like it's interesting to me how like someone's brain will work in that way where they take something and kind of like repeat or play. It's almost like I've seen a bunch of videos showing Daft Punk, like shit that Daft Punk sampled, and like they're showing like the original thing and like what Daft Punk did to make like the wacky fucking beats that they use.
Okay, so I'm sorry, real quick. A Little Bit of Soap contains samples of Don't Play That Song, You Lied by Benny King. So Benny King is in there, and A Little Bit of Soap by the Jarmels. So Benny King is there, but it's not Stand By Me.
I'm pretty sure it's Stand By Me.
I just fucking looked it up.
Where'd you read that?
I read it on whosampled.com. www.whosampled.com.
Wikipedia. Like, oh, you can't fucking trust Wikipedia.
No, I didn't. I looked on Wikipedia to see if it listed who they are, but no. Also, the AI version on Google just brings up A Little Bit of Soap samples a song of the same name by the Jarmels. The Jarmels version was written by Burt Burns and released in 1961, but whosampled.com goes further to say A Little Bit of Soap contains samples of Don't Play That Song, You Lied, by Benny King, who is the writer of Stand By Me, and A Little Bit of Soap by the Jarmels. So there you go. Benny King's in there. It's just not Stand By Me.
I'm going to have to check your sources. I'm the reporter in the field. I'm going to have to check your sources.
My God, you well, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, on the whole, like I really enjoyed this album. There are some parts that I didn't enjoy. But I feel like I want to save that for when we get to. I want to save that specifically for when we get to the top 3 and bottom 1 segment.
Okay.
But yeah, on the whole, like I enjoyed this album. I would say, shit. In fact, I know I listened to it on the way to and from work today. I say that's the other joy is we're recording currently at right now it's 10:11 on Saturday, October 5th. I worked. From 6 p.m. October 4th into like 6:30 a.m. October 5th. So I'm running on like 0 hours of sleep, but I'm still fucking funny.
There you go. Well, you know, I mean, that's debatable. You're awake. I don't know if you're funny.
I mean, maybe it's the lack of sleep that's like my brain isn't like operating on full cylinders. On the whole, I enjoyed this album. Like I said, enjoyed trying to figure out what samples were. But yeah, it's definitely. I would definitely recommend this to people. And like I said, like the only way I can think to describe it is like almost like a wholesome rap album, just because like there is some cursing, there is some swear words.
There's some swear words and a lot of talk about fucking.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's like
that's
the thing. That's why it makes me
thing.
laugh. That's why it makes me laugh that I'm referring to it as wholesome, because there is a lot of sexy talk going on.
Yep.
Sexy talk.
Oh God,
sexy talk.
You're not even here, and you're doing sexy voice.
Yeah, I know.
Horrible.
Horrible. Yeah, like it just seems like compared to stuff that I know of in like modern rap and hip hop music, it just seems more clean than modern shit.
Yep. Especially like I said, for that time. So, this is actually like I will say that I am very naive in regards to rap music. Basically, from like 89 on, like I don't know a ton of rap music, but I gravitated towards this, and I tend to gravitate towards styles like this. I do love this album. I remember my first exposure to him was when the video for Me, Myself, and I came out on MTV, and I was like, I just happened to have MTV on, and this is when they played videos, and it just popped up, and I was just like, wait, what the fuck is this? This is fucking good. But I had also grew up listening to a lot of like rap and hip hop, but it was like Run DMC, LL Cool J, Grandmaster Flash, the Sugar Hill Gang, Roxanne Shante. That's all the stuff that like we grew up, which was definitely a different style of rap, almost disco. Very, also Beastie Boys was in there as well. But it was more about the dance, the break dancing, the dance culture. Definitely talked about, being in the ghetto and especially the New York rap, growing up poor and stuff like that, which I did identify with to an extent, not as poor as some of the people who were rapping it, but, those were the things that like, it definitely, we got into, and, like, as you said, me and Brian, I could, yeah, no, I'm out of coffee too. So we used to break dance. We used to go around and get the, find cardboard, and we'd put it in the middle of the street. And we just break dance, or like linoleum or whatever. And that was what we liked. I mean, we were so much into that culture that my second baby that's coming in January is going to be named Regina 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
So, but like, that's the type of stuff that I did. And then I started getting more into like rock and alternative and new wave and stuff like that. So to hear this album, it was like, damn, this is fucking good to hear that song and to like what I heard. I would go so far. And again, I will say this as a very limited and almost naive listener of rap. I would go so far to say that this is the greatest, if not one of the greatest all time rap and hip hop albums ever produced. I think it was genre changing. I think it like, cause when you think about it, right? So this came out, I'm sure there were other groups doing a similar style at the time, but when this came out in 89, soon after followed A Tribe Called Quest. Soon after followed Arrested Development, all in that same kind of that groovy hip hop style. The Roots are definitely an offshoot of De La Soul. Like it's just the more the groove. It's not just about like the big beats. I haven't listened to them enough, but I would go so far as to say like MF Doom is probably very De La Soul like. Even and I do listen to him a little bit, but if you look at like Aesop Rock, another one that these are all kind of like offshoots of that same sort of genre, the groove, the beats, the way it's put down, that De La Soul kind of created. And when you get into the rap skip of it, I know there's some skits on the Chronic and Doggy Style. So those are things like right after that, like those artists who are probably Dr. Dre and Snoop are probably the all time like icons of rap music, especially West Coast rap. They took that stuff and put that in there as well, and the thing I like about like De La is just like it's you know, like, yeah, I like the Beastie Boys. I did listen to the Beastie Boys a lot. It's different than the Beastie Boys. They really did go out and do their own thing. It's not like a,
Yeah.
you know, they do a lot of samples of like rock music and jazz and different like bigger artists and whatnot, but it's not, it is really their thing. Like they were the only people doing something like this at the time. I love Run DMC. Run DMC is one of the greatest rap groups of all time, with probably in arguably the greatest DJ of all time. And even their stuff is just like as groundbreaking as Run DMC was. I don't think any of Run DMC stuff hits the level that 3 Feet High and Rising does, because it's just, I feel like Run DMC took the style that was going on and did it amazingly and did it probably the best for that time. But De La, I think, changed the scope of hip hop at that time. Like and especially doing it in the face of, this is where hip hop's going. We're going to do our thing. So
I like that you're on a first name basis with the band and get to call them De La.
Oh yeah, man. We hang out all the time. You know, De La, so.
I don't remember if we mentioned it on last week's episode when we picked it. I know we had talked about it off air. For season 1, I had said to Paul, we each had picked 25 albums, making 50 total. And I said that makes us too short of a week. We should both buy a record over the course of season 1.
Yes.
And then both of the records that we buy should be episode 51 and 52. And if I'm not mistaken, Paul, you said 3 Feet High and Rising was going to be your record that you were going to buy for that.
It would have. And that, because we did start this in March of 23. And at the time, I think it had just been released. I had some on order, but being a smaller account, all my stuff got back ordered and sent elsewhere to other accounts, even though I had orders. So I didn't get the first fill. That sometimes happens with being a smaller account. You don't have as much buying power as, say, Target, obviously. But you know, so yes, so this would have been it. This would have been the one we added on if we were to add on, or if I had gotten it before we started recording, before I had finalized my 25. This absolutely would have been on season 1. But none of those things happened. We didn't add the other 2 albums, and then, like I said, and then I didn't have it in time for us to start recording season 1. But as soon as I got it, I'm like, well, this is season 2 all the way. This is definitely, you know, when before we had even decided on the format, this was definitely on my list for season 2, regardless of what it would have been. Real quick, I got to say, in February 2023, right before the re-release was announced, we do got to raise a glass to Dove Dave, who died at the age of 54, was a member of De La Soul there. So Dove Dave, also known as David. I am not going to even try to say his last name because I will fucking butcher it, and I don't want to do that to the man. So,
Paul, pronounced Smith.
No, it's not. So, but I'm going to challenge our listeners here. As I was saying, like, I think this is the greatest hip hop album ever made, but I'm also fairly naive with when it comes to definitely modern hip hop. But I like to be open-minded. I like to listen to new stuff. So I'm going to ask our listeners, which hopefully we have some new listeners who are jumping in on this, because we don't do a whole lot of rap albums on here. So hopefully someone who hasn't listened before is listeners, drop in the comments. Let me know, what are your greatest hip hop and rap albums of all time? What should we be listening to? What should I check out as someone who, you know, and I don't care from what era it's from. Era. I don't care when it's from. I don't care if it's old school stuff. I don't care if it's new stuff. I don't care if it's something that came out last week. If there's something that I'm missing here that might be better than this album, or maybe not better, but still worth a listen, drop that in the comments on YouTube and Spotify specifically. I will see them faster. If you drop them in comments, I don't even know if you could can you do comments on Apple Music? You're an Apple Music person, right?
I don't think you can leave comments. I think you can leave you can leave reviews.
Okay. Well, review us on Apple Music, because the more reviews we get, the more 5-star review. If you have less than a 5-star review, just don't review us, please. It'll hurt us. But if you have a 5-star review, drop it on Apple Music as well, because that helps us reach more listeners. But specifically YouTube and Spotify, put in the comments. Let me know what albums am I missing, you know? And that, you know, what are they? Is the Chronic the greatest album? Is it Doggy Style? Is it what is it? What's the Kanye College Dropout? Is that the album? Do you know what I mean? Like I don't know, but like because to me, again, in my limited opinion, it is this album, and and the cool thing about De La Soul. See, I used their full name. We're not doing De La. We'll do De La Soul. Is they have actually really reached out to other genres and they go across for example a lot, especially on the earlier Gorilla stuff. They're responsible for a lot of the rapping in the interludes in the songs by the Gorillas. Were you aware of that?
Oh, I was not aware of that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So that's De La Soul right there doing their thing with the Gorillas and which I remember the first one I heard. I forget which one it was. It might have been Clint Eastwood. I'm not really sure because I don't know all the ones that they go on. I know they're definitely on Feel Good, but I remember like hearing it in the background for the first time, whatever Gorillas song it was, and hearing the rap. I'm like, De La put something else out. You know what I mean? Because it was just like, it was like, oh shit, and then it was like, that is the Gorillas, and I'm like, wait, De La is a new band? Like, I was very interested in it, but oddly enough, though, as much as I like this album, I never just really took the time to listen to the additional De La Soul albums. De La Soul is Dead is supposed to be just as good, if not better than this in some people's opinions. But I never went back and listened to it. And there's a bunch of other De La Soul albums that are out. Like I said, they did 3 with Prince Paul as producer. I don't know what all 3 were, but I believe De La Soul is Dead is the second one. I just don't know what the third one is. But like, I just never, again, it was a time in my life where I went and started listening to other stuff. The way I actually really discovered this album in full was back in high school. I'm at Roman Catholic High School, and there was a dude sitting in front of me. His name is Joe Walters. And we're sitting in class. It was English class. I remember his first period English class. And like you could hear this music. I was like, what the fuck? And I looked down, and his Walkman's like out of like hanging out of his book bag a little bit. And I was like, yo, Joe, your Walkman's on. So it accidentally hit play or something like that. He's like, oh shit, thanks. And I said, I was like, dude, what is that? He's like, I was like, is that De La Soul? He's like, yeah, you know De La Soul? I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, it's 3 Feet High and Rising. I was like, fuck. I was like, could you make me a copy of that? And he just kind of looked at me. He's like, you really want to copy this? I'm like, yeah, man, I'll bring in a tape, man. I'll bring it. He's like, it's got to be a long tape because this is like a 60-minute album. Yeah. So he's like, so I had to bring him in like one of those like 120-minute tapes or whatever it was because I think like the cassettes at the time that you could get, like the blank cassettes were like 60-minute. Maybe there was a 90-minute and then 120 minutes. So I was just like, I'll just get the 120-minute one. Because I remember one of the cool things about the 120-minute tapes is when you were having your friends dub it, is if you gave them a 120-minute tape, you could generally get 2 full albums on the tape, one on one side, one on the other. That was not the case with this album, actually. So we got the whole one side, and then it breaks up, and there's the other side which has the rest of the stuff on it. Because this is a long as fuck album, especially for what we cover. But yeah, he made me a copy of it, and I fucking loved it. I listened to it all the time. I don't know what happened to that tape, but like I listened to that tape constantly. I want to say I did have it on CD at one point. I think I got it from like one of those like music clubs where you can pick like stuff, which I'd have to look. I still have my old CDs. I'd have to look if I still have it, but I think I did have a CD of it as well. But yeah, no, just like cannot say enough good things about this album and how good it is. And just, it's just fucking great. It's great. And it's everything about it. It's the skits. It's the stuff they're talking about, the style of music. It's just fucking great. I just love it.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
I still can't get over the fact that I didn't read the little blurb, and I said it seems like something to just put on like a low key party.
Yeah, well, I have the book. You don't, so
that's what I mean.
So no, it's cool. That's cool. So do you have any more thoughts? Any earth shattering thoughts about this album?
I do, but I told you as I mentioned earlier, I want to save them for my for the top 3 bottom 1 segment.
Okay. All right. Cool. Awesome. So, Adam.
Paul, I saw uh, a picture.
Did you like
Uh,
that subtle
yeah,
transition there?
I saw a picture last night of you holding Regina at
Yes.
a wedding,
Uh
and Regina was holding a sign that says she's just here for the booze.
huh.
What does that sweet drunk baby angel think of De La Soul, 3 Feet High and Rising?
So Regina just does not go to weddings for the booze. She goes to weddings for the booze and vinyl. See what I did
Yes.
there? Andre Darlington and Tanaya Darlington. Andre, thank you again for coming on. Go buy Booze and Vinyl, Volume 1, Volume 2, the Booze and Vinyl game, the Christmas book, all that kind of stuff. Go buy that on Amazon or wherever you can find Andre Darlington's work. Regina does like the booze. She doesn't like it. She didn't have booze, but yeah, it's a cool picture. Ready? I'm gonna put it up right now. Boop. There you go, everybody. So you know what we're talking about. There you go. Now it's gone. Um, so Regina, here's a question. What do you think the Regina factor is on this? Because other than Beastie Boys, we've not really covered hip hop, and I'd almost, yes, Beastie Boys are rap, but they're more with the stuff they do, almost more rock than rap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I don't know why, but I feel like I'm leaning towards she may have been indifferent towards this.
okay,
Because it's like you said, it's not something totally in her wheelhouse.
it's not.
The skits break it up. There is some there's some fun goofy shit on there.
Uh-huh.
But like I don't know, I feel like this may have ended up being an indifferent.
So what I will tell you is that after the magic number, I believe that basically after the first skit, it goes into magic number 3 is the magic number is on.
Yeah.
When that song completed, Regina started rapping. So she like seriously, as soon as it was over, she started going ba 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 very rhythmically, as a thing. This definitely went down as a light because as the album went on, she was definitely into it and
That's awesome.
moving her hands and clapping and singing the songs along. And but no, she started kind of mimicking the rhythmic vocal lines of 3 is the magic number, which was pretty amazing. So it's definitely a like. And the other cool thing about it too, so Regina's a little bit delayed in speech. So she started consistently making the B sounds when that after that song came on. So we can credit De La Soul to introducing a new sound and a new form of communication to Regina as well.
There you go.
So thank you, De La Soul. So that was kind of cool. And she, and since we first listened to her, she's been doing more B sounds and more B words. So that was kind of cool. So definitely a good album there for Regina. She liked it. So that brings me to 5 likes, 1 dislike, and 1 indifferent. Adam, you were at 5 likes and 1 dislike. The listeners are at, bless you, 1 like, 1 dislike, and 1 indifferent. And this actually now brings Tom to 1 like or 2 likes. I'm sorry, brings Tom to 2 likes because
because the booze and vinyls count towards Tom.
They do, and we'll get into that in the Discogs value as well.
The what's it called? It's going to count towards Tom as well.
It is the Discogs value. Yep. So we said we would just a recap if you guys don't know what we're doing here. So we have 36 episodes. One of them being the what's that thing called? The Christmas episode. Thank you. So we have 10 of Adam's picks, 10 of my picks, 10 from the listeners. We had Tom picked 5 random booze and vinyls, and then the other booze and vinyls that we're doing between the listeners, Adam, and my picks. Tom is also getting the credit for those because he is the bartender of the Country Hipster podcast, and he is in it for the big D as well as the listeners. So we'll see who gets the big D at the end of the season there. I'm not saying someone's significantly in the lead or not significantly in the lead, but
$9,000 record.
Yep. So what are your top 3 songs, Adam?
Top 3. I from the first time I listened to the album, I picked right away. I picked a top song for me, and that's "Jennifer Taught Me."
Okay.
Jennifer Taught Me.
Yep. Derwin's what is Derwin's Revenge or something like that?
Derwin's Revenge. Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm going to go Jennifer Taught Me, I Know, and Buddy.
Okay. All right. Cool. So, we're not actually what's go
With
on.
an honorable mention of Treadwater.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we're actually not that far off at all on this. My number one is Buddy. I just fucking love that song. It's such a good song. It's Q-Tip from Tribe Called Quest in there. It has the Jungle Brothers in there. Just so fucking, just a good song. Just a really groove song. Just fucking love Buddy. It probably is my all-time favorite song on this album. Followed secondly, very close second to Me, Myself, and I, which is my first exposure to De La Soul. And then my number 3 is Jennifer Taught Me, Darwin's Revenge. Love that. I even like the little breakdown where it goes, hey, look what little Darwin can do. Doot, doot, doot. And he starts playing chopsticks and whatnot. It's like, it's just such a great, like, it breaks up the album really nicely, or the song really nicely as well, but works. It's not like that fucking stupid Adele song, rumor has it, where it's a really, really good song and then she goes into this stupid fucking bridge, which makes no sense for the rest of the song. So I think the breakup in Derwin's Revenge, Jennifer Taught Me, really works well. I have 2 honorable mentions on this. One being Treadwater, and the other being a song that does not sample Stand By Me, A Little Bit of Soap. So I do enjoy that song there. So those are my 2 honorable mentions. I probably could have gone further with honorable mentions, but it's like, I think listing 5 records or 5 songs as my top is probably pretty enough to go, because I go on about this album for a while. That being said, I did have a couple dislikes, and I say a couple because it's kind of like you could either put either one of them in, and they would be Change and Speak or Daisy Age. Just neither one, just not not that they're bad songs. I'm just like, they just don't do as much for me as the rest of the album goes. So
Yeah.
So your earth-shattering thoughts, without giving away stuff, which you can give away now. What are your dislikes?
I wouldn't say it's earth-shattering. It's just, honestly, my dislikes are anything involving the skits. Like, I don't care for the skit.
Okay, I do. I like it. I think, and the thing I like about the skits is I think it works well on this album.
See, in my opinion, if you drop the skits, even if you keep the goofy shit, even if you keep, what is it? Can you keep a secret and a little bit of soap? Like, even if you keep the weird goofy shit, that's fine. But if you drop the skits, I think this album, like, I feel like it literally so on my way to, I said I listened to the album to and from work yesterday, going to work yesterday and coming home from work today. Luckily, I've listened to the album enough where I know where the skits are, because I can skip them.
Okay.
To me, it's a better listen with that. Like, it's I'm not listening to it because they think they're funny. Like, what's the thing you always hear? Like, musicians want to be comedians and comedians wish they were musicians.
I've
or something
never
like
heard that.
Like,
okay.
You never heard that before?
No.
But yeah, like, I don't give a shit about, like, them thinking they're funny doing the whole game show thing. I'm like, I'm not listening to it for their bullshit. I'm listening to it for their music.
See, okay.
So like,
go on.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
No. You go. It's all you.
Okay.
But
I thought you were gonna start off. Yeah. So my least favorites are any of the skit bullshit. Like, in my opinion, if you started this album with the magic number, done. Fucking hook, line, and sinker right there. Like, I don't need this bullshit about, like, the game show.
So
it's
this is what I guess,
and that's what I want to talk about. I don't understand the skit, because there are rap albums that I've listened to, more recent rap albums that I've listened to, that do the skits and do these weird talking interludes, and I don't fucking understand it. Beastie Boy, License to Ill had one.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't fucking
License to Ill didn't have a skit.
No, not a skit. It had like a talky interlude.
I actually don't remember that on License to Ill.
I'm almost 100% certain.
Maybe it's because we were covering ill communication.
Yeah, that's probably it.
No, I don't remember there being a skit on License to Ill, but or any talky part on that, to be honest with you. But, like, so the stuff, like I said, the stuff that you're talking about, like the more modern, like, stuff that has the skits, is because of this album. And I think,
No, I understand.
but
I
I
don't get it
also
on
think,
this album, and I don't get it on those albums either.
but that's the thing. That's like, I think the skits in this, and that is one of the things I love about this album, is because of the skits, I can't listen to this on shuffle. It is a full-fledged production on vinyl from the beginning to the end. It's like, you have albums that are just songs, right?
Mhm.
You got to think of this album as beyond just being songs. It's a production, it's a show, it's a movie, it's also a rap album, because it has a whole flow. And the whole thing about this album is that all of it makes sense and all goes with the flow for the different things. It's all very purposely done, even though the skits are a little weird. And what's the whole thing with the, how many feathers are on a Purdue chicken? I think the answer is 0, but I don't know, and can you ever really know how many fibers are enshrined in a shredded wheat? I don't think you can. How do you know that? But like, I think all of them, and they're making fun of themselves, which they do throughout the album as well. They definitely make fun of themselves throughout the album and each other. But I think that's one of the beauties about this album, is that it's not just about putting songs out. It's about putting a full-fledged production together and putting that together and basically laying it down the tape.
I understand that.
Uh-huh.
I just don't give a shit about the songs.
Okay, well, that's fine. There you go. There you go.
I do have another question.
Yes.
Were they chronically ill during the recording of this album? Because they constantly make references to needing Ludens.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they were. I mean,
I think they make a reference in "Can You Keep a Secret?"
Uh-huh.
And they make a reference in something else about someone needing Ludens. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they were, or maybe it was just the fact of like how much they were doing it and re-recording, and what I mean. It's like a lot of times, most stuff, artists don't go in and just lay down a track and then it's good. They have to do it over and over and over. Actually, probably one of the most famous examples of that, in my opinion, is the movie from the '80s, La Bamba, starring Lou Diamond Phillips. Where the first time Richie goes into the video, and you have that little montage over and over and over of the cut of like him doing the beginning of I think it's "Come On Let's Go," I think is the song, where he has that line where he's like, "Hey," and like every single time the guy's like cut, going back, and then at the end he's like, "How's your throat?" And the and the brother's like, "I didn't hear one difference." He's like, "It's all in the editing, trust me." You know what I mean? So that happens more times than not in the recording studios, especially when the artist isn't paying for the recording. It tends to happen a lot more. So maybe it's a reference to that, is where they're just like, hey, we're redoing this stuff over and over and over, all these different ways in the producer's eye. Because if you're working with the producer, that's another thing that artists lose as well. If they're working with the certain producers, they lose that ability to fully direct how the albums and the songs are going to go. It comes down to like, you're the producer. Okay, you put something there. Now I'm going to make it into something else. So it's there's a lot that goes into it, and a lot in the editing process and whatnot. So maybe that's what they're referencing on. Maybe Prince Paul had a lot of different ways he wanted to go with it than they had in mind, or they just tried a lot of different things. So maybe that's what it came down to. Their throats were hurting. So so wait, so you don't actually have any songs you dislike. You just don't like the skits.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
care. I mean, if I had to pick a song that I didn't like, it would probably a song would be "Can You Keep a Secret?"
Okay.
Like I said, I'll let them keep the goofy shit. I think it'd be even better for me, not for you, obviously, if you drop skits and the goofy shit. But I'll let them have something.
Okay.
So if I had to pick a least favorite song, it'd probably be "Can You Keep a Secret?" But on the whole, just the skits in general.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. All right. So let's get into the Discogs value here.
The double dip Discogs value.
So as I mentioned earlier, that I did try to get this for season 1. So we already kind of know that I have a 2023 reissue of this album. What we don't necessarily know is that I have it on yellow vinyl. It came out in 2023.
if they watched last week's episode, we know that it's on yellow vinyl because you showed it off last
true.
week.
That's true. I did. So this came out on pink vinyl, I believe blue vinyl, and yellow vinyl, all in 2023. I don't think it came out on green, but I know the cassettes came out with the green shell cassette, because this was also re-released on cassette as well in 2023. Which actually, give me 1 second. Hold on. Adam, vamp.
I'm pretty sure it looked like Paul was just wearing plaid pajama pants, which was kind of adorable. Super. He's just super comfy. It's a cozy Saturday morning. He's got his coffee. He's got his Michael Stripe. He's got it all, you know.
I am wearing plaid pajama pants because it is early in the morning, and I went to a wedding last night, and I was not fully awake when we started doing this. So yes, I am wearing plaid pajama pants. I can't find my cassettes. I know I have cassettes in stock at the OttsvilleRecordGarage.com, but I don't know what colors they were. I don't know where I put them real quick. So not a big deal. But yeah, so it was released as well as black vinyl. It was released on as well. So I have a 2023 reissue on yellow vinyl. 2 LP pressing, 180 gram pressing. It also includes a little comic insert, which is kind of cool too, which I don't know if that was in any of the original pressings. There was some stuff. So this was actually announced 21 or 22 that they were reissuing these. So distributors were taking orders, all this kind of stuff. And then something happened where they just canceled it. It kept getting pushed back. The release kept getting pushed back, and then it canceled. Then it just got canceled. Now, reading about the legalities of the sampling, I don't know if that was the issue or if there was a public publishing issue between De La Soul and Tommy Boy Records. I kind of remember hearing that there was an issue about the publishing rights, where similar to like the stuff that happens with the Taylor Swift and whatnot. Is that De La Soul didn't own the publishing, Tommy Boy did, but there was some weird stuff with the contract. I'm not really sure, but I read, and again, this is what I'm trying to just get off the top of my head. I had read that De La Soul had actually put a stop on the earlier release of this, and then when this was released in 2023, they actually own the publishing again. So basically the newer versions like kind of goes to De La Soul, makes more money than they were making before, and probably all around, which is good for them. Good for them. And any artist who's able to regain control of their publishing rights. So, but yeah, so that is what I believe happened. Or like I said, or it could have had to do with the legalities of the sampling, which is why it was not released on streaming until 2023. At any rate, so my copy, the 2023 reissue on yellow vinyl, the very good plus value. And I love when we have something that's $1 amount and 1 cent, because we round up. So I get some extra time on us. The very good plus value is $42.01, making it $43. So, my running total as of today is $724. Adam's running total is $419. The listener's running total is at $163. Now, Tom's running total, when I made my notes, was $57. But then I remembered Tom gets credit for the Booze and Vinyls, and this is a Booze and Vinyl episode. So his running total is now at, $100. So Tom has jumped up. He's, we haven't had, even though he's not on here, he still jumps up a bit. And since you're not here, I'm going to have to take Michael Stripe, and I'm going to have to pick from the box of Mike as to what next week's episode is going to be. You and I are getting very down there in records. Like, we don't have that many left.
I think we established on last week's episode, I think I have 4, and I think you maybe have 4 as well.
Well, this is one of my 4, so I have 3 left. So,
wow.
Yeah, so I'm down. 70% of my albums are done for season 2. And 60% of yours. So I picked the envelope here. It is number 14. And I don't know what this is. So let's see what we're looking at. How is this possible? How is this possible? How do you feel about having back-to-back hip-hop episodes?
Ooh,
Ooh.
interesting.
Oh,
I'm on board.
It is my pick.
Especially because I'm super interested because I know what other hip hop albums are on the list, and I'm very excited for a lot of them. So
Yes.
what do you
So
got?
this is one of my picks. So I will have 2 albums left after this. This is also a Booze and Vinyl episode as well,
Nice.
and it is Run DMC Raising Hell.
If anybody was listening to the poorly named License to Ill episode, I listed Raising Hell as one of my top 5 favorite hip hop albums of all time.
Yes.
So I'm super excited for this.
And it is a Booze and Vinyl, which should be interesting. Now, once again, when it comes to scheduling, you have something scheduled this week, don't you? Little dental work going on there, buddy?
Oh yeah, that's right. That's how.
Yeah.
So a little inside baseball for everybody. Like we said, we're recording this episode on October 5th. This episode isn't airing until Halloween. So I just got very fucking confused. I'm like, what am I doing the week of Halloween? Yes, this coming week in Paul and mine's time, not listening.
Real
time.
person time. In the past.
Yeah, in the past, I'm having some. I've had some dental issues for a while, and I've grown sick and tired of them, and starting to get them fixed. So I will be having a few extractions this week. So might be a little interesting. Come having the extractions done on Thursday.
Yes.
So it might be interesting come Sunday to see where I'm at and ability to record.
Yes. So Adam may not be here. He may be remote, or he may be in person, just very drugged up and swollen.
I may be swollen as fuck. So
yeah. So, but what we do know is that this is a Booze and Vinyl episode. It's my record. It is Run DMC Raising Hell. It puts me more towards the end of my records for season 1, which is kind of exciting. See if everybody can catch up to my Big D lead. So this will be good. The other thing I can tell you is that Tom, the bartender of the Country Hipster podcast, is on board for this episode next week as well, because we talked about that in advance. It just might not be. Well, no, I actually know it's not going to be here in the Yattsville Record Garage. It's just kind of a case of where it's going to be. This is going to be another one on location. I think I'm actually going to be going to Tom's house and doing it there. So, yeah. So that should be interesting.
Then no matter how drugged up, I definitely have to be there, just so I can place some hidden cameras.
We'll say because it'll be like this. It'll be like, whose house?
Tom's house.
Whose house? Ron's house. There you go. See how we did that? See how we did that there? So, real quick, Adam, thank you for jumping on and making me wake up this morning.
I would say thank you, Paul, for being so such an accommodating host.
Yes. Thank you once again to Andre Darlington for sitting down with us and talking about Booze and Vinyl and records in general. And go check out everything Andre Darlington related, Booze and Vinyl Volume 1, 2, Christmas book, as well as the upcoming country music, Booze and Vinyl, and everything else. Andre Darlington, man, so many good books out there, so many different recipe books, and follow him on social media. I will tell you, and I maybe he doesn't want me to say this, but I will say that I've reached out to him before, doing it, not before, like doing the podcast, I'd reach out to him randomly. And he responds, man. He responds. It's actually really cool. And it's him responding, not his people. So that's also really cool. So follow up on everything Booze and Vinyl and Andre Darlington. And do you have anything else, sir?
Despite what I said about the skits and not understanding it, it's a very good album. So listen to it and form your own opinions.
Nice. And on that note, it is time to...